Hey friends, what's happening in Dallas-Fort Worth real estate market? Buyers, what's it take to get a house today? It's a daunting task, but we're going to talk about that. First, I'm David Russell with the Russell team. Thank you for watching this brief video in our video series about buying, selling, and owning real estate. Let's dig in. What are sellers looking for? Oh, by the way, sellers, pay attention because this is going to give you some ideas on what to look for should you be listing your house this summer. So what are sellers looking for? They're looking for most money, or they're looking for most certainty, or they're looking for a combination of the two. In my experience, most sellers want a combination of the two. They want the highest price that gives them the most certainty. So we're going to talk about that. What are the different components that make that up, price and certainty? So there's obviously the offer price, but we're going to leave that alone for a second, make that the last topic. And we're going to go to earnest money. Typically, earnest money in a normal market is 0.5% to 1%. Today, we're really seeing it in the 2 to 3% range. One is out there, but it's significantly less than 50%. Most of the offers have 2 to 3% earnest money. Not really pushing you into extreme certainty. You're not an outlier if you're offering 2 to 3% earnest money. You're right in the bracket of what everybody else is doing. I have seen on one of our listings recently 30% earnest money, which is a huge leap and a tremendous amount of certainty for the seller. Now, that one particular offer on that house, there were 56 offers on that house. That buyer did not win because they were 10% lower than the highest offer that offered the seller still a high level of certainty. But in that seller's mind, that $50,000 was worth more to them than the amount of money they put down for certainty. There was just too much of a spread between the two contract offer amounts. So earnest is typically 1 to 3%, but again, that doesn't push you outside of what is the normal kind of grouping, if you will. The next one is going to be the appraisal addendum. Now, this is critical today. Last year, we were doing appraisal addendums. Most contracts included them. Most buyers were using them, but they were putting a floor saying if the contract is 500, it has to appraise at 480 or it has to appraise at 450. Today, you pretty much have to weigh the appraisal contingency or you're out, because waiving the appraisal contingency gives certainty to the seller, and that is becoming the norm. So if you're asking for a floor, same example I gave, contract price 500, you say it has to appraise for 450, you're an outlier because most of the other buyers are not asking for doing a floor. They're giving a full waiver. So if you're not willing to give a full waiver, it's going to be more difficult for you to win in a multiple offer situation. So full appraisal waiver is important. Next one is HOA. If the home is in an HOA, a homeowners association, there is an addendum that gives the buyer the right to review all the HOA documents, and then they have 3 days to review those documents and object to them if they choose to, which means cancel the contract. Well, that removes certainty from the seller, and sellers are declining offers with that with the HOA addendum. So unless you're willing you're willing to forego that addendum and waive that contingency, you're going to struggle in winning a multiple offer situation. Now, the next one is the option period. This is the number of days or the time frame in which a buyer purchases the unrestricted right to terminate from a seller. And that's when they generally conduct their due diligence. In a normal market, they come back and ask for repairs. You're really not going to get any repairs in today's market unless you're really providing a lot of money over the list price and over the next closest offer. Most sellers are not willing to budge much on repairs. But that said, many buyers are waiving the option period. Don't really recommend that. As a realtor, I can't recommend that to you because there's a lot of risk there. If there's a material defect in the house that a home inspector would have uncovered and you missed it as a buyer, and I'm not qualified to make those decisions for you as a realtor. That's not my area of expertise, so I have to defer to a home inspector. So I can't really tell you to waive the option period, but many people are. If you're going to keep it and you want to ask for 3, 4, 5 days of option days, then I'm seeing as high as $2,700. That was the highest one I've seen in the last couple of 2-3 months, was $2,700. In a normal market, it's $100, $200, $500, not a lot. In this market, it's up to $2,700 is the highest I've seen in the last 60 days or so. Last year, I saw one for $5,000. So there are buyers willing to push a lot of money at the option period. Now, from a buying perspective, if you push that money at the option period and you want to terminate the contract during that little period of time, you forfeit that money because you purchased the right to terminate. The seller keeps that money. Sellers are willing to take option periods, especially if somebody gives them $3,000 to look at the house for 3 days. That's $1,000 a day if they cancel the contract, and they will have another contract within hours. So it's really a good gamble for a seller to take that contract if the numbers work on all the other components. So option period is another aspect. Unfortunately, in some cases, a buyer will ask for 10 days option period, $250. So they're really not giving much certainty to the seller that the contract will go through and continue to close compared to other contracts that seller will be receiving or has received. And having listed and sold a number of houses already this year, and one of them had 56 offers, there were $100, $200 option periods for 10 days, for 7 days. And that's really hard for a seller to accept that when they have another contract for similar money and 0 option days. So that person that wants that option period because they're not giving enough money to make it, to incentivize the seller to take it, and they're not delivering any certainty, that buyer is out and they just don't even have a chance. So next one is price. This is where it gets crazy. Well, as if it's not crazy enough. People waiving inspection periods or the option period, people waiving the appraisal contingency, people waiving HOA contingency. We're seeing contracts where they have waived every contingency just to get the house, delivering all that certainty to the seller. And here is where it really gets wild, is on the offers. We're seeing people come in, and I'm seeing on some of our listings this year, we had one that was 24% above list price. That's a huge number, 24% above list price. Now that is cash, so from that offer price, the contract price, to appraisal value, that buyer is going to have to pay that in cash. And then they're going to have to do their down payment of 3%, 5%, 20%, whatever their down payment is, and pay closing costs. So in some of these situations, you have people buying a house having to come out of pocket on a $600,000 house, $300K, because of what they bid over list price, which is approximately appraised value. So they're bidding $100,000, $120,000 over list price. Then they're going to put their 20% down. So right there, you're about $250,000 plus closing costs. So they're into $250,000, $300,000 to buy that house. An amazing amount of money. It makes it very difficult for a buyer who doesn't have 25% cash plus closing costs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to buy that house. So the market is crazy hot. Sellers, you are in for a wild ride if you want to sell your house right now. It is a great time to cash out. Homes are selling for, again, up to 24% above list. That's what I've experienced personally this year. Amazing components and certainty for sellers. Buyers, key things to keep in mind. What's your overall offer price? We're seeing them come in 20% above list often. Not once, not a wild card, not an outlier. Every house that we're experiencing offers on that I either learned from the listing agent, where we were at, or our own listings are all 15% and above, and many of them 20% and above. So you have to have that cash and keep that in mind and structure your loan accordingly. Are you willing to do the appraisal waiver? Do you have the cash for that? Are you willing to waive HOA contingency? Are you willing to give a lot of money on the option period so that you can give the seller certainty but still preserve your right to terminate should you find something that's wrong with the house, a material defect. And then the last one, leaseback. I almost forgot leaseback. Oh, two more. Leaseback is pretty much standard now. Sellers are getting 30 to 60 days. The buyers are just giving it to them automatically in the contract. And the last one is, and I've never seen this before, but lots of this I haven't seen before. It's just a crazy year, is funds. Buyers are providing bank statements, stock statements to sellers to demonstrate they have the capacity to pay cash for the appraisal spread and the down payment and the closing costs. So they're giving them redacted statements to show that they have that cash as part of the offer package. Crazy what people are going through and the desperation that buyers have today. And it's really tragic. It's really hard when you have a family trying to find a house and a place to live, and they just aren't financially prepared to part with $250,000 or $200,000 or $150,000, whatever the number is for the price point that they're in. It's very difficult. Almost impossible. Really, it's pretty much impossible to get a house today at 100% financing, 3% down, and not be able to pay above appraised value with that waiver. I hope this helps. It's a lot of information. I hope it helps prepare buyers that are heading into this market. I hope the information helps some sellers with what to expect in this market that we're having today. My name is David Russell. If there's anything that I can do to help you with buying, selling, and owning real estate, please call, text, or email me. I'm here to help.